Today we're celebrating being a republic here in Trinidad and Tobago. And here to join me is Dr. Michael Toussaint, lecturer, who is so versed in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning to you, Dr. Toussaint.
Pleasant good morning to you and your crew and Trinidad and Tobago, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So let us start with a very obvious question that and probably a wasted question for some people, but to me, one that is good for those who don't know. What is the...
I'm getting some background noises.
I think it will go just now, I hope. Let me just see if I can. So go ahead. What does it mean to be a republic?
Well, let's start with some sort of definition that we can work with.
Yeah.
As the name suggests, by the very sound of it, republic has to do with the public. And it has to do with the public taking on the responsibility of governance of their nation. There's a distinction between government and governance. Every country has government. How you govern is what we are relating to when we speak of governance.
Yeah.
And in the Republican framework of thinking and operating, what you are doing is acknowledging your responsibility for your nation. So republic has some connotation. One is the public and their involvement in the country and its governance. Two, the question of responsibility for yourself. Three, the question of liberty of the people, because that's why they want to have responsibility for governing themselves. Now, we have to be very careful. A lot of countries have the name republic, and I am sure the world community will not be satisfied with what goes on in those countries. So having the name republic is not a magic bullet. It's the way you govern your republic. And having said that, and having defined it, because it really comes from a Latin term, res publica, which means responsibility for yourself. That's one of the definitions.
Yeah.
But having said that, you have to go to the step of making your republic work for the people. I think it's the ultimate expression of the term nation state. A nation is a state is a nation state is a state at a particular level of development. This is the ultimate expression of it, when you're responsible for yourself and you have sovereignty.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be too long on the definition aspect of it, but I want to tell you the difference between a republic, which we are today, and what we were in 1962 until we became a republic. In 1962, when we became independent, we became what you call a constitutional monarchy. We got independence from the British Crown. And that would speak to the question of political independence. But in reality, we were still under their control to a considerable extent, because the commander-in-chief of our armed forces would have been the governor-general, who was the representative of the British monarchy. And many countries in the Caribbean are in that position. They have independence. Jamaica, where they will chant on Babylon one more time and all of that heavy rhetoric and so on, is a constitutional monarchy.
Right.
All the islands of the Windward Islands the Windward Island group are constitutional monarchies. Many countries are constitutional monarchies.
So Dr. Toussaint, talk to us about, we know that, as you said, the Governor General would be the head of the army, and then he reports to the Queen. But outside of the army, what are some of those differences between being a constitutional monarchy and being a republic? We talk about being responsible for ourselves. Is it that when we're a constitutional monarchy, we don't do the same? That we're not responsible?
No. Well, there are stages in constitutional monarchies. I mean, same is always different in politics and everything else. Some countries are significantly controlled, and that's what you call neo-imperialism or neo-colonialism. They are lock, stock, and barrel under the control of their formal imperial masters, notwithstanding that they have declared independence, they have been granted independence, they have their flag, they have their national anthem. In fact, as I told some groups recently, and I've been saying that there's something called flag independence. You have all the, paraphernalia of independence, but your political control, and particularly your economy, because that's what it's about, is under the control. But it's not just about the army. We have a president, and I think I probably should go there now. And I find people often asking, well, what does the president do? And does the president do anything? And let me say, on behalf of the nation, good morning to the president of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Because the president is the head of state in a republic. The prime minister is the head of government. When you have a situation like that, the governor becomes more than symbolic. Let's take some roles that the president performs that people don't know, and you would see the vast change. The president on Republic Day will be saluted by the army and so on. The army, the defense force, there's a slight difference. The police service, the fire service, the Coast Guard, all of the military and paramilitary arms at that level, he is the commander-in-chief, not the prime minister. He's the commander-in-chief. Then, when ministers are sworn in, the prime minister is sworn in, the attorney general is sworn in, the leader of the opposition is sworn in. All members of the House of Representatives, they are to be appointed by the president.
Yeah.
The prime minister makes the suggestion of the appointment, put forward the names, but the final act of conferring that responsibility on them has to be done by the president. And they have to take their oath in front of the president. So you get the symbolism of it, but also the dignity attached to nationhood and sovereignty. Am I making sense at this point?
Oh, yes. And one of the things people are always saying that is just a titular, that the president is just it's just a title, and she does nothing. But even when it comes on to the commissions, we know that she appoints a lot of the people on the commissions. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
But it goes further than that. You have, as you mentioned, commission, it's judicial and legal service, it's police service commission, as we know. That's very topical at the moment. The Public Service Commission, the Integrity Commission, the Equal Opportunity Commission, all those types of commissions. But then, the Salary Reviews Commission. But then it goes further than that. Until we begin to understand the importance of the president, we would miss some very important things. There's an office called the Ombudsman. All these appointments come under the control of the president.
Yeah.
Of course, he has to be advised by the prime minister and leader of the opposition. But the appointments come under him. The revocation of the appointment comes under him after the advice of governor, the prime minister, and so on. But there are several, virtually everybody who has these important public service responsibilities, their appointment is under the president.
Yeah, and
it is not just an appointment.
Yeah, and Dr. Toussaint, even when we talk about legislation for the act to be proclaimed, still have to go through the president.
To be proclaimed.
Yeah.
But the president is part of the legislature. The House of Representatives would have your MPs and your speaker, of course, all of those appointments by the president and so on. The Senate would have a majority appointed by the government. and the Prime Minister in terms of the recommendations put forward.
Yeah.
The opposition is going to have their crew inside there, but the president has independent senators that he appoints. So the president is part of the governance of a country. And there are three arms of the government: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. And the president hands are in all of those. I mean, the president is responsible for the appointment of the Chief Justice and the judges. So the president is not a figurehead in the context of Trinidad and Tobago. He is ceremonial. Well, I should say she is ceremonial. The office is ceremonial. But it goes beyond that. They have a significantly, not a significantly critical, a critical a position in the administration of the country at the level that we are speaking about. It's not the executive administration, but there's some execution. They have some administrative work, and the office of the president is very key to the operations of Trinidad and Tobago. And as we talk, we will see some of that.
Yeah. So therefore, we can definitely say we are responsible for ourselves. But I remember when we started the conversation, you spoke about the governance and how government is different from governance. Can we just explore that a little bit and talk about the governance?
Well, I am, I'm often looking at the fact that people don't read the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, which is quite readable, quite accessible, and it's not taught in schools, and that's because they don't do history. So, as I do everywhere, I put in a plug for the discipline of history and the teaching of civics, and I hope the Prime Minister will pay attention. Because governance, what do we mean by that? It matters what system you have, but more important than that is how that system operates. Trinidad and Tobago has, it's a democratic republic. You can have republics that are dictatorial and dictatorships and so on. You have a lot of that in Latin America. You can have republics that are parliamentary, okay? In that while you have a president, you have a parliament similar to what happened in Britain, and therefore you have a hybrid system. Trinidad has a hybrid system. In other words, we took something from the British and we took something from the American system. So we have a parliamentary system of government that allows us to follow certain traditions, and we have a presidential system that declares our sovereignty. Are we getting through with what we are talking about here? It depends on how you deal with it. In some countries, the real reason why you appoint a president is that a president is, the real reason, well, let me put it this way. When you don't have a parliamentary system of governance, or prime ministerial system, because prime ministerial and parliament goes together. Follow that?
Yeah.
You have a presidential system of government. And when you have a presidential system of government, the president has to be elected by the people. Now, we say we have elections in Trinidad and Tobago, and the prime minister is elected by the people. In a context, the prime minister is actually elected by the members of his constituency. And all the members of the parliament are elected by the members of their constituency. So the real claim to ownership of votes is the fact that they have been elected. You cannot be a member of parliament if you are not elected as a member. In a presidential system of governance, the president is elected by the mass of voters, by the electorate, so that he can claim legitimacy as a president. That's what happens in the American system. We don't have that. But what we have is a system of democracy in which people are elected based on a party system in which the party as a group is elected, and the prime minister can form the person who leads the House of Representatives because he has the greatest majority. And that's our system. All right? I hope I'm making it a bit clear, because there is a lot of misconceptions about what is involved. And perhaps it is fortuitous that I mentioned that, because it is the president who determines who has the majority in the House and forms the government.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah. So, so Dr. Toussaint, we have 2 minutes left. Let's talk about, how do we celebrate being that republic? What are some of the important things that we need to put into our celebration to ensure that we're not just having a party, but we understand what it is that we're celebrating?
Well, first we have as a people to inculcate what the Republican system is about, and we have been doing that. We're trying to talk about that. To inculcate the level of respect that should be accorded the president and the presidency of Trinidad and Tobago. And we are yet to get there. And we need to understand that our celebrations should really be about our Republican status, because you can be independent and totally dependent. Most of the Caribbean islands are in that particular framework. Yeah. You can also be a constitutional monarchy and be significantly sovereign. Canada is a constitutional monarchy. Are you aware of that? Are people aware of that? Canada is like that. Australia is like that as well.
That's my attention.
Pardon me?
You just brought that to my attention, that Canada is a constitutional monarchy. I was not aware at all.
And in the same way that you are unaware of that, people don't recognize that America is a republic, because they think republic is only associated with Latin America. India is a republic. Ghana is a republic. Several countries are republic. Guyana right here is a republic. Okay? How should we celebrate this? We should give that day a lot of pomp and ceremony. And I'll tell you why. People think that the president is irrelevant and it's just a token system. We had a coup. I don't know if people know the president has the power to pardon. We had a coup in an attempted coup d'etat in 1990. And the acting president, not even the president, Emmanuel Carter, signed a document exonerating there and then the Jamaat for what was happening over those 6 days of national siege. And it was effective, because that is the power the president has. And when people say that the president is insignificant, they are not serious.
Yeah.
Because that is the final say.
It's because they don't know. So I'm happy that you were here this morning to share with us the role of the president and what it really means to be a republic, that it's the people. It's the people who are, in control of themselves, and explain the difference between government and governance. But Dr. Toussaint, your final words, we do have to wrap.
Good. A Republican framework of governance reflects a particular level of evolution of a nation state. We are there, and we need to recognize the responsibility that goes with it. We are significantly sovereign, more sovereign than we know. We are limited by all kinds of external pressure as any other country, and external powers who are very powerful and so on. But we are sovereign. That is a right and privilege to be cherished, but it is also a responsibility. Trinidadians have got to get to the level of understanding where we are, who we are, and what we must mean as citizens of this particular nation state. And I think there's need for a lot of education and inculcation and internalization of what is involved here.
Dr. Toussaint, thank you so much for being with us here this morning.
My pleasure.
And Happy Republic Day tomorrow.
Same to you, the crew, and Trinidad and Tobago.